Hello guys, welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be going through a championship challenge 15 win guide, giving you guys the best composition, tips and tricks, brawlers to play with, randoms, etc. So we're going to be going through every single map. So let's just dive into it straight away. And if you like this type of content on the channel, make sure you're subscribing if you're not already. So let's go into the first map, which is going to be Triple Dribble Dribble. Here are your best picks on the screen right here. So with Triple Dribble, as I always say with set 1, it's going to be a lot of nonsense going on. You're probably not going to face the best of players. They're going to be going the likes of Mortis, Edgar, all of these tankier brawlers on Brawl. So to be honest, I would recommend maybe even going 2 tank counters. That's why I've got the likes of B and Chester in my composition. And then, of course, if you're playing with randoms, big, high DPS brawlers like Rico, like Lou, like Chester again. These are the brawlers that are going to carry. Also, Chester with a hypercharge is just so good in Brawl right now, so you definitely need it. In terms of other picks, I just don't think you need to overthink Brawl too much. You can go like Poco and then like another tank brawler and just run it down if you really want to. You go with like some Meeple, but you're probably going to get ran down. You can go Carl with the fire gadget, which is pretty good. I just recommend going the best composition, and you shouldn't really have any worries. I don't need to walk through this. Just be wary of maybe throwers, but I just really think that as long as you've got one aggressive brawler like Ollie or something like that to cause pressure on the thrower, then you're just good to go. Now moving on to set number 2, we've got Bounty Hideout here, your best picks on the screen right here. So with this map in particular, normally snipers aren't actually the best, but I do think, especially at set number 2, you're going to get away with going majority of the snipers. So the first one, it has to be Mandy. So Mandy's an absolute noob destroyer at the moment, but particularly with her hypercharge. Especially if you're playing with randoms, you know, it's going to be pretty difficult when they're just going in constantly. You need a turnaround brawler, and that's going to be Mandy with purple button. It's insane. You know, Jean's going to be really good. I think the average player doesn't like playing Jean, but Jean's just really good into everything. If you don't like playing Jean, then Angelo's really good, even though Jean's easier to play than Angelo. Angelo's good against everything. You can use either gadget. The better players use the Pierce gadget because you can just deal 4k for a wall. It's insane, but he's just really good into everything. Gray as well, in particular, in Bounty Knockout is absolutely insane. Gray's a bit of a harder brawler to play, but if you're good with him and you know you're going to hit a lot of those gadgets, then he's just good into everything. Juju's really good down the left-hand side, and then you've got the likes of Ollie, Bell, Piper. What I really like about this certain compositions, you got to make sure that you at least got one brawler in case they go throwers. So for example, you know, you might want to go Piper because at least you can break open the map, or you might want to go Ollie or something aggressive, or maybe even throw yourself. That can counter a thrower. So again, like Gray, that's why I really like Gray, because he's good into snipers once he gets his super, and then he can break open the map with Walking Cane, so then throws on as good. So there's a lot of options to go here. Honestly, just go your comfort picks and you should be good to go, and just making sure that you're not getting a random on your team that's going to go Edgar 24/7. To set number 3, we've got Hard Rock Mine here, your best picks on the screen right here. So this is where things start to get a little bit sweatier. You're probably going to see more meta brawlers, but it is gem grab and it can get pretty dicey, especially with just how randoms can be. So to begin with, best mids. There's going to be a couple that you should pick. To be honest, I think you should pick one mid that is good against tanks. That's why I always like going 8-bit, although you can get countered by the typical like weird control brawler like Mr. P, Penny, etc. 8-bit's just still a really safe pick because it's just good against tanks. You can put your turret far back and then you can teleport out of danger. He's a good counter to other mid brawlers, so that's why I really like him, especially in blind picks. Then you've got Gus as well. He's a pretty tanky brawler, at least he can knock back people. And then you've got Max and Mr. P, but Mr. P, there's going to be still a lot of aggressive options, so I don't really mind him too much. You could go Mr. P lane though, but yeah, he's good mid and lane. In terms of lanes as well, Rico's going to be good enough here. Again, I think if it was competitive, I think Rico's fallen down a bit, but he is a noob stomper, and especially on this map, people don't know how to counter Rico, so it's a really good option. Carl with a fire gadget is insane right now. He can just one-shot so many different brawlers, and he's just perfect at wall peeking on this map. And then you've got the likes of Ollie and Lumi, so these are 2 harder brawlers to play. So if you're, I'd say, a bit more of an advanced player, you should probably play these 2 brawlers and abuse them, but for the average player, probably would stay away from them because they are pretty difficult to use. You got also Mo, you've got Chester, you got Meeple, you got Stu as well, who's insane in Hard Rock Mine, which I love Stu because you can just pair with an 8-bit with the turret, and then you're good to go. So Hard Rock Mine, just making sure that you're not like letting anyone sneak in behind enemy lines, and then of course making sure one of your brawlers is causing pressure on the enemy gem carrier, trying to get in their grass, trying to cause pressure so your gem carrier can pick up gems. Yeah, that's just the way to go. So that's why I recommend at least going like a Carl or an Ollie that can create space, and then you just want some brawler that can at least scout around the grass pretty easily. So like a Rico, that's why I really like him. That's why I really like Mo, for example, because you can scout pretty easily. So moving on to set number 4, we've got Hot Zone, Open Zone here. Best picks on the screen right here. So with Open Zone, I think B is the best brawler here by far, because a good B player can just tap literally everyone at 1 versus 3. You've also got Rattled Hive, which is just so broken. And I think to pair that with B, you don't have to go Stu. So good Stu players, as long as you've got decent connection, you're going to be able to just take over the game with Speed Zone. And then once you get one super, you can just glide around and create so much pressure. And then I went with a third brawler with some alright range. So I went with Lola. So the reason we're going with Lola, because the Hypercharge is okay, but I just think Lola's just pretty safe into everything, a more open map. If you face off against like a Poco and a tank, you know, Lola can still deal with that with B, for example. So I reckon you need some kind of tank counter. Even though you've got B already, I think you do need something with like a decent amount of range. That's why I like Lola, why you could maybe go Lou. I won't really double up on the snipers unless it's like maybe Gus, that's a little less prone to those aggressive brawlers. Other options that you could definitely go, Leon is definitely back in the meta. He can create a lot of pressure with his lollipop drop and then cycle through his supers. You've also got the likes of Carl with his gadget. Poker can be really good, and especially paired with a more aggressive brawler like Ollie, for example. And then you've got Lumi, you've got Meeple that can be really good as well. Byron, Janet, Melody, Thinks. There's a lot of really good options here on Open Zone. But for the most part, you want to make sure you got decent range. The more range you have, the better it's going to be. But making sure that you're at least trying to get a spawn trap down the left-hand lane. That is the most essential part. Most of the control is going to come down the left, and you're always going to suffer down the right because of that grass. Now moving on to set number 5, we've got Goldarm Gulch Knockout. So you can see the best compositions on your screen right here. So again, I think Mandy is a big noob destroyer, even though it's set 5 and you're probably going to face some decent players. Mandy is just really good on this map. So what you want to do on this map, well, a lot of people make the same mistake, is just take everyone down the left-hand lane, because then you're really safe and you know you're going to survive until endgame, because you've got all your teammates around you. So just make sure you're staying within the grass, just chipping, trying to get your supers, and then you can start to try and win the game. So that's why I really like Mandy, because what you can do, you can snipe from a distance. You've got the Cookie Crumbs gadget that can help build up your super, and then the opponents will never know when you're supering, because there's just so much grass. You can do it at any time, and just the lineups are really, really good. And then of course you've got Jean. Again, Jean is a fantastic brawler in the meta, because you can just slowly chip away the opponents, and then a Jean pull most of the time just guaranteed a kill. You just need one killer knockout to make it 3 versus 2, and you're pretty much going to win the round. Gray as well. So with knockout in this map in particular, you either need a thrower or a thrower counter. So that's why I really like Gray or Ollie. I actually prefer one of those two than a thrower typically now, because a Gray can just be really aggressive with his walking canes and just take over the game. You've also got Ollie that you can use with the speed star power and just, you know, gadget over a wall and jump onto a thrower if needs be. You've also got Juju, who's really good still, decent against tanks as well if needs be, but with the amount of grass you can just abuse that with her long shot. Then you've got likes of Carl, Gus, Piper, RT, Buster. There's just a lot of options you can go, but I wouldn't really recommend too many of them. I would always make sure that I'm using Mandy and probably Gray in my composition. Those are the 2 really good knockout brawlers, but it does come down to that final circle, so making sure that you're not missing your all-important supers. That's what it comes down to, and just trying to isolate maybe a single brawler, because again, if you get into that 3 versus 2 situation, you're just guaranteed to win that round pretty much, unless your randoms are just absolute idiots. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm just going to give you like all the best brawlers to use. In terms of strategy, it's hard to go through like in depth. I feel like I've done enough here to try and help you guys get to 15 wins, but you'll be getting 15 star drops as well if you manage to get through it all. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Let me know down in the comment section below how you get on. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.